My philosophy for the backhand is, if the ball pushes you, you push back harder. If the ball pushes you and you retreat, you will never have a good backhand loop. In part 1, we build your foundation. In this video, we take your game to the next level by mastering the advanced attacks that win points. The second major over-the-table technique is the flick. Learning to flick is mandatory. Many amateurs will face tricky hook serves with sidespin, or effective backhand sidespin serves from skilled veteran players. You can't push these, so the flick is a hurdle you must overcome. Can you skip the flick and go straight to the banana flick? Normally, you should learn the standard flick first. The banana flick is an aggressive attack with high difficulty and high reward. But the standard flick is like a forehand drive, lower difficulty and less threat. However, a good flick can solve the problem of dealing with sidespin serves in crucial moments. My philosophy is that amateur players should know every technique. Whether you use it or not depends on the match situation. The first key to the backhand flick: your backswing must have the racket face pointing to 9 o'clock. Sink your shoulder and elbow, aim for 9 o'clock, then generate force towards 1 o'clock. This motion doesn't use the upper arm or much forearm. It's almost entirely a rotation of the racket face. If you master this racket face rotation, your flick will be effective. With a bit of deception, it can be very awkward for your opponent. So when you receive a half-spin serve to your backhand that you get attacked on when you push, you should absolutely use the flick. Brace your shoulder and elbow forward. Then flick the racket tip from the 9 o'clock direction toward the 1 o'clock direction. Once you've mastered this, you can turn weak backspin or half-spin serves into topspin returns. Against sidespin topspin, just close your racket angle slightly. It's that simple. Now, let's move to the forehand flick. The forehand flick is a mandatory skill for amateurs. Most amateurs can't flick well on the forehand because they try to use an over-the-table drive motion. When flicking, you must approach the ball from a 45-degree angle to open up your forearm and wrist. The main power generation for the flick comes from opening up and then snapping forward. The motion is like a fish tail, snapping from back to front, with no upward movement. A student recently told me, when I flick, my opponent always smashes it back. Why does that happen? Because you're not using your wrist, you're just pushing with your forearm. A slow ball like that is an easy kill. They can serve short to your forehand every time and attack your return. In the flick technique, the power must be generated primarily by opening and then snapping the forearm and wrist closed. How can they attack a return like that? Most players can't generate enough power. The flick is typically used against weak backspin, half-spin, and sidespin topspin serves. So you can be fully confident flicking forward, without thinking about lifting up. Against sidespin topspin, close your racket face. Against half-spin, open it slightly. The direction of force is always forward, never upward. Do not lift. The fundamental difference between flicking and pushing is that a push generates power late in the stroke, close to the ball. A flick requires creating space to generate power forward. Now, let's discuss the banana flick. The banana flick can handle sidespin topspin, sidespin backspin, and half-spin serves. In theory, it can handle any ball over the table. However, amateur players should set that broader goal aside for now. Focus first on short balls to the backhand and middle, and half-long balls to the backhand and middle. A half-long ball is one that lands just off the end of the table on the first bounce, not a deep serve to the baseline. A deep serve is too fast, leading to frame hits or misses. Your banana flick backswing must start low, around the 5 o'clock position, to generate power. If you start at 6 o'clock, you might end up contacting at 7 or 8. So, load at 5 o'clock and brush towards 10 o'clock. Then, accelerate your power towards 2 o'clock. Watch, load at 5, brush to 10, accelerate to 2. After you can do a standard backhand flick, you can start learning the banana flick. If your banana flick is failing, it's either due to insufficient loading, not enough brushing, or a lack of forward acceleration. You're going up or sideways instead of forward. Okay, let's move on to the forehand loop against backspin. Looping against backspin is very different from looping against topspin. You need to get into a lunge stance with your weight pressed down. Otherwise, you're just squatting up and down without proper power transfer from the body. Second, you must rotate your waist and hips. At the same time, your hand must drop lower. For topspin, we drop to the thigh. For backspin, it's closer to the hip. Your shoulder and elbow must be relaxed and low. That's the first key point. The second is that the rhythm is much more demanding. Against topspin, the rhythm is a quick thwack. If you use that same rhythm against backspin, the ball will go into the net. So, to start, amateurs must master a golden rhythm. Do not contact the ball at the peak of its bounce. Advanced players can do it, but not amateurs. Many players loop well in practice, but in a match, all their loops go into the net. They loop great in multi-ball drills, but during a match, every ball hits the net. This is because their timing is off. What's the solution? Let the ball drop to the early falling phase. The peak is here, the early fall is here. This timing makes it easier to sync up your power. There's a distance between the apex and the early fall. The early fall point is closer to you. Meeting the ball at this early falling point is much more friendly for players with a few years of experience. This will make your backspin loops, both forehand and backhand, more consistent in matches and training because you can find the timing better. Once you reach a higher level with better anticipation and footwork, then you can start contacting at the peak. The forehand loop against backspin has 4 key points. The first is the lunge stance I mentioned. During a standard loop, you must create space by rotating your body. Second key point, your hand must stay close to your body, not swing out behind you. Dropping it too far away or tucking your elbow in are both incorrect. Ideally, keep it close. We should always aim to learn the most modern techniques. Third, you must use your legs and body to generate power for the backspin loop, hips, waist, shoulders, legs. Power must be transferred forward, not generated by the arm alone. Your body must lead the swing with a forward power transfer. The feeling is like throwing a shot put, you must use your whole body. You can exaggerate at first. Feel that shot put motion and release the power. Fourth, I need you to follow an outer arc, what we call the ABC path. Not a straight AC or AD path. Only when you execute this ABC path correctly can you fundamentally loop a backspin ball well. Other details like brushing, forearm snap, and meeting the ball forward are things we cover regularly, and those depend on your fundamental skill level. Once you start dealing with backspin, you should shift your focus to practicing this rolling friction. Okay, let's talk about the backhand loop. The backhand loop is not necessarily inferior to the forehand, but most amateurs spend so much time on their forehand that their backhand loop against backspin is underdeveloped. You must put in the effort here. Your level will only truly improve when both sides are balanced. You cannot have a weak side, because opponents will target it. The first key point for the backhand backspin loop is to get low and stable with your legs, like a horse stance. Second, during the backswing, your racket tip must be positioned to the inside of your left thigh. Not between your legs, and certainly not by your right leg. Point your racket tip to 7 o'clock, brush towards 10 o'clock, and then accelerate towards 2 o'clock. See how smooth that loop is? On top of this foundation, there are 2 crucial points for amateur players. First, most amateurs are afraid to drive their body forward into the backhand backspin loop. My philosophy for the backhand is, if the ball pushes you, you push back harder. If the ball pushes you and you retreat, you will never have a good backhand loop. For example, if the ball is really jamming you, don't be afraid. If it pressures you, you pressure it back. It's just a matter of how much power I use, but the direction of my force must be forward. You must meet the ball in front. Because the backhand stroke is short, the finishing height of the follow-through for a forehand loop is here, higher, while the finishing height for a backhand loop is here, lower. So if you only go up and not forward, the arc is too short to clear the net. Therefore, you must extend through the ball on your backhand. Second, the biggest problem with the backhand loop is managing the space between you and the ball. As I tell my students, on the backhand loop, your body and your arm are one unit. For instance, if my hand is here, my body follows it forward slightly. Your body must move in the same direction as your hand. If the ball is here, your hand directs force this way, and your body directs force this way. If the ball is here and I loop this way, then my body also generates force in that direction. Your body must always support your arm. If you feel your arm wants to swing forward aggressively, let your body go forward with it. It's even okay to jump a little. If you feel jammed and want to loop this way, generate body power in that same direction. If you're blocked, generate power upward. This spatial awareness on the backhand is the hardest part. Most amateurs suffer from a disconnect between their body and arm, which results in a weak backhand or a fear of engaging the ball. You all need to work on strengthening these 4 backhand principles. When you get to looping backspin, that's where the real separation in skill level occurs. This is because in amateur matches, many serves are half spin, and opponents are good at pushing. For a lot of amateur players, their training begins with practicing heavy sidespin backspin serves. So when dealing with backspin, focus on 4 areas. 1. Don't rush the timing. Respect the spin, speed, and rhythm of a backspin ball. 2. You must use your body. A loop against backspin without body power is extremely inconsistent. 3. You must drop your hand down. When you're close to the table, your backswing for both forehand and backhand must be below table level. Otherwise you'll easily hit the bottom half of the ball and net it. 4th and most important, focus on friction. No matter what your opponent gives you, if you can create friction, you have a way to get the ball on the table. You must focus on friction, it's a type of ball feel. Don't see a backspin ball and instinctively try to hit through it with power like you would against topspin. I can loop the first ball safely and attack the second. If the difficulty of looping topspin is a 3, then looping backspin is a 9. Solve the difficult problem first, then deal with the easier one.